What's up, everybody? Mike Walsh here. So today I want to talk about Jonah Hill and whether or not he is correct or delusional about his fighting abilities, okay? So for some context, apparently Jonah Hill has been doing jiu-jitsu for some time, and he recently was doing some sort of like Q&A thing with Jason Bateman and some other actors, and it was brought up, and Hill was very high on himself. He was very much saying like, oh, people think I'm just the fat guy from Superbad, but like, try it, like, come up, like, fuck around and find out. If you're, unless you're way bigger than me, I'm gonna fuck you up. And he, like, because Bateman even asked, like realistically, like, what do you think would happen if you and I went at it? And he's like, and Hill says, I would fucking destroy you, dude. Like, oh my god. And naturally, people are leaping on him for this, and people are like using photos of him where he is a white belt. He's like a 2-stripe white belt in all the clips and photos I've seen. And they're saying like, okay, this like out of shape-ish, like middle-aged actor who's a 2-stripe white belt now thinks he can like beat the world. And people are mocking him for it. But I want to explore this. I want to give Jonah Hill a fair shake here. So for one, it's not totally clear to me what his like rank and experience level is, because I've seen a clip where he's talking about doing jiu-jitsu, and the clip is like was posted like 4 years ago. So if he's still doing it, and if this clip with him and Jason Bateman is recent, then you'd imagine he's been training in the interim. So he could potentially be like a blue belt or something. He could be a guy who's been training for the last like 4+ years, which is a very different, that's a very different look than him being, just some like newbie, like 6 months in white belt or something. And yes, there's a clip of him as a white belt practicing a takedown into a mount with his instructor. And he looks like a white belt practicing a move, and people are mocking him for it. But with some more details, like it might be showing actually that he's been doing this for some time. Because yeah, even a middle-aged guy like Jonah Hill, who's not an athlete, if you've been doing jiu-jitsu for 4 years, that's like a meaningful amount of experience. Hold on one moment. Now, let's imagine that's not the case. Let's imagine, no, he is something more like a just kind of white belt who's been doing it for, let's say, less than a year. How realistic is his depiction of things? Because what he says is, like, I would annihilate you, Jason Bateman, fellow middle-aged actor. And he said, like, to the audience, to the listeners, to the viewers, to all of us, like, come up and try it if you think you can fuck me up. Unless you're way bigger than me, I'm going to beat you. And presumably he also means, like, and unless you're way better at jiu-jitsu than me, if you're a fighter, yada, yada. If you knew who I was, I don't think he'd be inviting my aggression at him. But what he means is the commoner, right? The average person. How realistic is it that Jonah Hill, a middle-aged, out-of-shape dude with less than 1 year jiu-jitsu training, can beat the average person? And and by average, I mean like a pretty, the bottom like 90 percentile or something. I've seen some people say that he said he can beat 99% of people. I haven't found a clip of him saying that. But, let's be more generous and say like the bottom 90% of people. Could Jonah Hill beat the bottom 90% of people with that given? Maybe. Okay? Because it's not to big up Jonah Hill. It's to kind of tear down everyone else that I say this. And I apologize to my viewers here, because I know this will apply to several of you. This isn't me trying to call you out or say like, hey, if you're not an athlete and you don't fight or you don't train, then you're just like a loser or something. That's not my intended message here at all. But with that said, the reality is that most men, especially in today's society, are not able to fight. Most men in today's society are weaklings. They are not athletes. They are not strong. They cannot fight. They don't have fighting experience. They are not martial artists. They are not combat sports practitioners. They are not anything. And despite this, your average guy, especially younger men, anyone like below the age of 40, has this inflated sense of like self-ability. This inflated sense of their prowess as a fighter. Like most guys tell themselves happy thoughts about their ability to hold their own in a fight, despite having literally no reason to believe so. That's the reality. And you'd be shocked at how little training you need to get meaningfully better from your starting point, because your starting point is fucking shit. If you're not an athletic dude and you have no fighting experience and training experience, yeah, you're starting from zero, and it doesn't take much to get way better than that, right? Yes, something like 6 months to a year is enough to get way better. Okay? Like Jonah Hill at his present state would maul Jonah Hill when he like first did jiu-jitsu, right? Now, there's more to it than that, okay? That is still not a lot of jiu-jitsu, and it's still just jiu-jitsu. Like, ideally, you'd be doing that and striking. Like, if you take a normal person and you give them 6 months of jiu-jitsu plus 6 months of striking, and striking that involves sparring, not like hard sparring from day one or something, but like works in sparring and up to something like full contact sparring, like, if you take them and do that for 6 months, they will be way better. They'll be like categorically better than they were. And Jonah is only doing half of that, right? Jonah's not doing anything with strikes. Now, the worst case scenario would be like Jonah doing what a lot of celebrities do, which is just do private lessons. Because when you're that rich and famous, and you don't want to deal with the like normal students at the school, and you don't want like your face to get damaged or anything, because it's your moneymaker. Like, often guys will just do private lessons, and that is just not a way to get good. You cannot get good at jiu-jitsu one-on-one. No, I don't care how good your instructor is. You will not get good doing one-on-one jiu-jitsu with your instructor. That's where like I've got some upcoming nieces and nephews and stuff and friends who are having kids, and everyone says to me like, so you're gonna teach the kid how to fight, right, Uncle Mike? And it's like, no. I mean, I'll show them a thing or two, sure, if you want, but like, I would teach them to fight by just getting them to go to a jiu-jitsu gym, or to join the wrestling team, or to go to an MMA gym or something. Like, I would not, you can't just one-on-one teach someone how to fight. That's horseshit. That stuff only happens in movies. It's like in the Batman with Robert Pattinson, where he must have had more than this, I hope. But they allude to the fact that like Alfred taught him how to fight. And it's like, alone? No, that's not real. So anyways, if Jonah Hill has been doing private lessons for this whole time, that's nothing. Like, he might as well just not be training. However, he has said things in the one clip I saw, not the viral clip going around with him and Bateman, but the older clip from like 4 years ago. He talks about how he had to get acclimated to doing the classes because everyone wants to submit him, because it's a story to submit Jonah Hill. So he very quickly realized, he's got this target on his back. And he said he started wearing like a peach colored gi to sort of deflate some of that hostility from people and stuff like that. Make it clear he's not there to be the big dick in class or something. And he talked about like overcoming that and how this was like a thing that scared him. He doesn't like, his whole life, he's not been like a fighter of that kind or anything. So it took like overcoming fear to do this. And that's encouraging in the sense that makes it sound like he's actually doing classes and training with people and not just doing privates. However, it's also a red flag to be like, it was a massive like overcoming of fear for me to do this. That does not scream natural fighter to me. Okay. And if you're talking about just squaring up with people on the street, that matters. Okay. Like, this is where, while on the one hand, it's true that like having 6 months of jiu-jitsu and kickboxing will like level you up from your starting point, it's not going to make you necessarily a fighter. And on the street, it gets complicated because there's all of the combatives details, all the self-defense variables of like, well, on the street, you don't just square up and touch gloves and say, let's go. On the street, you get in each other's face and fuck you, bam. That's what happens. So it's like Jorge Masvidal talks about with the 3-piece and the soda and sucker punches, and how the best self-defense is a sucker punch and a 50-yard dash and all that kind of shit. And how, in his neighborhood growing up, like if you agreed to step outside and settle it, like that was, you could get shot, you could get stabbed. That's just not how you did things. that stuff, all that stuff comes into play too. But even if it were a fight, a consensual fight, like if you're kind of a wimp, if you're someone who's not naturally a fighter, even if you do some jujitsu and you're like, I know what I'll do, I'm gonna tackle him and get him out. You very well might, because the guy probably sucks. But if he's a little meaner than you and he just hits you, like, do you curl into a fucking ball? You know, you might. I've seen that all kinds of stuff. I mean, I don't have this like storied street fighting career or stuff, but just watching like videos, like, and being someone who likes watching combatives and self-defense like footage, like you see all kinds of, like, I've seen people just get popped in the nose by like a little stiff punch and quit because of it, you know, where the guy immediately holds his nose and kind of like, whoa, what the fuck, you know, like that could be Jonah Hill, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna tackle you and get mount and do my and get the back and do my rear naked choke or do my armbar for mount. That could be his plan, and then boop, he gets hit and he quits and turns into a wimp, right? Could happen. That's a red flag. If just doing jujitsu at all has been this like daunting lifelong thing for you, you're probably not a fighter. You know, and there's very much a difference between Jonah Hill and like Tom Hardy, which I'm seeing people make the comparison, because Tom Hardy is like a blue or purple belt now, and he has competed. I've seen footage of him competing. He is scrappier. He's clearly good at jiu-jitsu. He is clearly like athletic and physical in a way that Jonah Hill never was or will be. Different animal. Like Tom Hardy could fight. You know, meaning if some random bozo squared up with him, I'd be a lot more confident in Tom Hardy. Now, again, it sounds like Jonah Hill is not just doing private lessons. He's not just doing the Ashton Kutcher thing, because Kutcher is a guy who, I remember years ago, he got his brown belt, and then there was footage of him like doing some sparring, and it looked like absolute horseshit. And you very much got the impression, yes, that he is just doing private lessons, and it's being sort of like, it's sort of a pay-to-play brown belt that he got. Jonah Hill, by his anecdotes about getting beat up at the school and in the class, make it sound like he's not doing that. But regardless, if he's still just some white belt and he wants to like actually fight people, and he's like kind of by his own admission, kind of a wimp and not a fighter, which isn't that narrative is reinforced rather than aided by this newer sort of face he's putting on about being Billy Badass and how I'll take out everyone who's not like way bigger than me. I'll fuck you up. Yeah. A real chance that wouldn't work, even though yes, like if instead of a fight, it were just a jujitsu spar, he is correct. Like a guy with like less than a year of jujitsu, if you're new to jujitsu and you're just some random bozo and you go and have your first day roll with him, he will beat you like pretty comfortably more often than not. Now, other things factor in, right? Like you might never have trained, but you could just be an athlete. Like I've rolled with people where they've got no grappling background, but they're strong and athletic, and they just have good balance and good instincts, and they just move well, and they're difficult to handle because of it. Similarly, on the feet, right? Like some people just have the fast twitch muscle fibers, and some people just sort of have like an eye for a knockout and just sort of naturally know how to kind of put their weight into it and kind of have good kinetic and a good kinetic chain and good snap. Some people that's like just more instinctive for, and yeah, they might have never boxed a day in their life, but if you let them square up with you, bam, and they hit you, they could knock you out. Like they could really thump you with something. So whilst it's true that your average guy is like a nothing burger in terms of fighting, and whilst, you know, and a nothing burger to the point where, yes, even someone like Jonah Hill, like an out of shape middle-aged actor with like for this thought experiment, less than a year of jiu-jitsu experience, that guy, Jonah Hill, could still beat the average Joe in that sense. At the same time, like sometimes you get average Joes who are kind of better at fighting than they should be for their experience. And that's mostly rooted in like mindset and athleticism. But they don't have to be freak athletes, right? I'm not talking about like, you know, this guy was like a linebacker in college or something like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like, yeah, they don't even have to have played sports or anything. Like some people are just more athletic than others, and athletic in a way that kind of suits fighting. And some people are just meaner and nastier and are willing to, that confidence, that unearned confidence that most men have, in their case, accompanies like their willingness to just hit you first and shit like that. Yeah, people like that are still dangerous. So in that sense, Jonah Hill is wrong. In that sense, like there are just random bozos who don't train and aren't way bigger than him who would still fuck him up. But he would fuck up like more people than you realize. And many people who are making fun of him, many people who are watching that video, Jonah Hill would absolutely like choke out. I'd wager. So, and he would beat Jason Bateman, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like Jason Bateman is just another middle-aged actor, but who doesn't train. So yeah, he would beat Jason Bateman. He wouldn't beat Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is somewhere between Greg Hardy and Dan Hardy in terms of ability. No, so he wouldn't do that, but you know, it's not that impressive to do a little bit of jiu-jitsu, okay? Like that, if you're like publicly bragging about that and like trying to like start shit about it, like that's indicative of a fragile ego. It's indicative of some old wounds that haven't healed, we'll say, for Jonah Hill. But despite that, like, yes, it does not take a lot of training to take some random bozo who can't fight and turn him into a random bozo who can kind of fight. You know what I mean? And that's probably what Jonah Hill is. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you think down below. Like if you have not, subscribe if you have not, check out my other YouTube channel if you have not. It's called Michael Walsh Nerd Stuff. On that channel, I talk about nerd stuff. I talk about comic books, video games, anime, sci-fi, all that kind of shit. If you're interested in that stuff, go check it out. If not, no worries, just stick around here. But in any case, take care.